Good evening. Our hand today is going to be pocket sevens, and this will be the last hand for about 2 weeks or so before we return. So this is hand number 75. We've gone, almost a year, probably over a full year of just continuous hand reading exercises. I'm getting better even in a live game when I'm playing. I have a better feel of ranges. Definitely helpful, but I'm not going to be able to continue because I'm going on vacation, and on my laptop it's hard to do these types of videos and keep posting them. So I do plan every day, maybe not every day. I've got 2 days of driving, so on those days when I'm driving, I'm probably not going to be able to do a hand, but on all the other days when I'm at my location, I plan to connect via VPN to my database to look at hands. So what we're going to do, I didn't go through for the last 75 hands. I've kind of made the starting ranges, but I think today I'm just going to go through and make the starting ranges as I'm recording. So here we have pocket sevens in the big blind and villain seven in the cutoff raises to 2 big blinds. This is pretty a weak raise. If you ask me, he's playing 48-18. Definitely loose. His cutoff stat, not going to be a whole lot, but this is the first time he's raised first in. So overall, with 43-18, he's not super like loose aggressive. But he's not like super loose passive either. I think with the 43, I've seen like 43 10s, 43 8s, and those raises then tend to be like something big. Here with the 2 big blinds, I think what we're doing is that tends to indicate some like weakness here. Maybe even all pocket pairs other than aces and kings. I think he's scared of his hand, so it's looking something like this. That's 10%, maybe not even those. It's one of those hands where he doesn't know what to actually do. He knows he should raise, but he's afraid of raising and getting called. Like I think these will probably all be like 3 big blinds, 4 big blind, like open raises from the cutoff. But he didn't do that. It was a min raise, so I think it's going to be something weak, and it could be like even wider. But here's the thing: with all of his like suited aces here, I think he's just going to limp. Same thing like King 9, Queen 9, Jack 9, the suited one gapper. I think he's just going to limp. Based on his 43-18 style. So I'm going to go with this range here at about 12%. Folds around. I think this is a great time with sevens just to go ahead and raise. Go ahead and 3-bet. So according to my hand charts, we're in the big blind. We're versus a cutoff raise. We should be 3-bet calling something like this. We should be 3-betting all of this. I'm sure when this hand happened, I looked at something like this and saw, okay, sevens are a call. But based on this play style, I think we should take the initiative. I think we should be aggressive. I think we should be raising here, and not just like raising to 6 or 7. I think we should be raising up to 10 or 12. Really do a standard 3-bet here. Really challenge him, because I think when we do that, he's going to fold probably all of these small pocket pairs and only call with like ace 10, ace jack, king jack, queen jack suited, maybe ace jack and king queen offsuit. I think that's it. He's going to be folding an overly large amount of hands. In some way we're turning our sevens into a bluff, but I think this is something that we challenge. If it's a chance that he is this like loose, like semi-passive player, it's possibility he's going to call with all of these hands, and then he'll just fold to a c-bet. So that's, I think, the other bonus for raising. I didn't do that. I just called, and we saw a flop. And I think that kind of poses some problems for us, because we're going to be out of position and we're not really going to know how to proceed. So we're going to go with this calling range here. And flop comes ace 10 2 rainbow. Ace 10 2 rainbow. So on a board like this, he has initiative. I think for the most part, we're going to be checking. Before we check, we should be considering what kind of hand should we be check raising. On this board, I think it's going to be hard for us to check raise a whole lot of hands because it's a rainbow board. If it was two suited, I think we've got more opportunities to check raise flush draws, which allows us then to check raise more of our two pairs, trips hands, maybe even like some of our bottom pairs just as a bluff. But here we don't have the suited hand, so if we're looking at like semi-bluffing ranges, we're looking at like maybe a gut shot, which is like 15%, which let's turn to our combos here. There's 32 combos there, and then we would need to have a bunch of combos to offset it, which we don't really have. So the question is, if we do gut shots, do we do all of the gut shots or do we do just a select few? With villain raising here, I think he's going to probably c-bet because the ace is on the board, and I also think maybe the 10's on the board. So I kind of think there's a possibility that he's going, if we check, he's going to bet his 10's. If we call, then or we call on that, and then on a turn that's anything less than 10, it doesn't improve him. I think he's going to probably check all of his 10's, continue betting all of his aces. So I think there's a really strong possibility that he's going to tell us how strong his hand is based on his actions on the flop and turn. And if he checks behind on the turn, then I think he's basically going to give up, and we could go ahead and seal the pot with our 7's basically as a bluff. Basically, I'm going to say as a bluff, it's going to get all of the 10's to fold. So I don't really think we're going to have a solid check raising range here. I think it's probably just going to be a check, because a set that we can possibly have would be like, sets of 2's. Our two pairs would be, ace 10. We don't have a huge number of super strong hands. So I like the check. And then he bets 1.5, which is actually pretty small. So the question is, he min raised pre-flop, and then he bet 1.5 into a 4.5 pot. So this is less than half pot, maybe a quarter pot or so. What does he do that with? So would he do that with a set? Probably not. I think he'd bet a little bit larger with a set. Same thing with the two pairs, same thing with top pair. So I think he's doing something like that, and no made hands. Something like, I think that's going to be his c-betting range, which means we should be check calling a fairly sizable percent of the time. Now we could check raise, but when we go back to his hands, I think he's calling with, so this is 85.9% here. Queens of jacks, middle pair with the 10's, we're looking at, 19, almost 20% of his cards out of this 85.9. Let's color code this with my 7's. He beats. Those are hands that beat us. He beats us on those. All right. So 70% of the hands we beat, 29% he beats us. If we check raise, I only think he's going to be coming with this 29.5%. And even then, maybe he folds. So maybe a check raise, but I think we can call, because I think the turn's going to give us a very reliable information. If we, and again, this is assuming that small bet size, excludes the bigger hands here. So since we're not entirely sure with that, I think our play is going to be to call. Of course, we're going to call with sets plus, but I think we can call with all of these along with our draws, with the intention of firing river if we check and he checks the turn. as long as the river card's a decent card. So I did call, turns a jack. That's actually a pretty bad card for us. King Queen, which I think might end up c-betting, just now hit a straight, which is unfortunate again for us. Jack 10 just hits 2 pair. Obviously 10-9 doesn't really improve. Queen Jack, which I think probably c-bets that amount, just now hit a jack, which beats us. So I think overall this is actually a pretty bad card for us. So I think we're going to probably be c-betting everything here. I'm not really sure what the benefit is of betting here unless we have like trip jacks or trip 10s, and then we're betting hoping that villain 7 raises because we're afraid that he's just going to check behind all of his 10s. Maybe if we bet he calls with the 10s. That's the idea. So let's go ahead and do that. So with our sets, do we even have 10s? No, we don't. But we're going to probably bet with our set, and we're going to probably bet with our 2 pair. Top pair, though, with the ace, I think we're just going to check and hope that he bets again. Because there is a possibility that he does still have that ace. So I think we're going to check here. We're going to be checking all of those. No made hands and so forth. So 85% of the time we're checking, or about 85% of the time, which I like this here. And then villain 7 checks behind. So I think that is most telling. I don't think he's going to check with any of these straights or sets, or 2 pair, top pair, or probably even, well, no, I'm going to say queens. I think he's checking all of those, so even his hand gets even weaker. So right now, just with our 100%, or at least our checking range here, we're at 54%, 55% compared to his, which is 45%. So we are looking good. So our plan now is any card less than a 10, we should be leading here, hoping that he's going to fold his 10, his jack, his queens, and so forth. The 9 comes out. Not the best card, but I don't think we should deviate from a plan. I think we should be betting here. Pot 7.5, we should be betting 7.5 here. Pot or a little bit larger. I disagree with this check because the check is just basically hoping that villain bets or at least checks behind to allow our 7s to win. I think we should take the initiative here. Go ahead and bet. I think we would be betting 2 pair, top pair, and then I think we should also be betting just basically everything here, which when you look at our range is about 105 cards. I think with all of our weak pairs and with our nothing hands, what we're trying to do with our bet is to fold out the 10s and the jacks. I think the 10s and the jacks can conceivably fold, especially if you bet 7.5 or something like a 10, 11, 12, 13, or 14 big blind bet here. I don't think ace folds, but that's on our target. Our target's going to be those 10s and those jacks, and maybe even the 9s. If we bet and he raises, we're going to fold. We're going to be done with the hand. So I think I made a mistake by checking. Villain 7 checks behind. And again, if we bet, I only think he's really calling with this top pair. I think that maybe the queens call. So 17% is what he calls with. He folds everything else. And I think that's pretty good because the middle pairs and the weak pairs, that's what we're trying to get out. So we see the river, he shows 7-6, which is not in his range. We didn't give that. Which, if he's going to call with 7-6, he's probably doing the min raise with something all like this, along with something like that. So all we can do is really take a note of what he raised in the cutoff with. I do think this is kind of loose for his play, but we're learning from it. I still don't think that changes our play. I think we check, check call the flop. We check the turn, he checks behind, and then on the river we should be betting out and trying to get 10s and jacks to fold, which I do think they will. In this case, if we bet, he's going to fold anyway, so no big deal, but it's knowing what we're targeting. All right, hopefully you enjoy this hand. I'd say look again tomorrow for another one, but we're going to take a couple weeks off, and then we'll come back and do the last 25 hands to finish out this 100 hand set. Have a good one.